Welcome to Audrey Reading Area. I do have another fun and exciting book that I'll be reading to you guys on this March 8th, which is National Women's Day. National Women's Day. Yes, it is. I'm going to read to you who was Princess Diana. Who was Princess Diana? Yes, I am. And don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Thank you. Don't forget to share. Share all my videos with everybody. Who was Princess Diana? A young woman who worked as an assistant kindergarten teacher. Yes. She was also a bride whose fairy tale wedding was watched on TV by about 750 million people around the world. She was also the people's princess who used her fame to help people in need. Yes, she did. So let's read who was Princess Diana. On July 29, 1981, England celebrated a national holiday. Prince Charles, the 32-year-old heir to the British throne, was about to marry Lady Diana Frances Spencer in the wedding of the century. Yes, look at that. In the wedding of the century. Thousands of people lined the streets of London. These 750 million watched on TV. As the crowd cheered, 20-year-old Diana stepped out of a horse-drawn coach, known as the glass carriage, in front of St. Paul's Cathedral in London. She was wearing a beautiful white dress and a sparkling gold and diamond tiara. Her train, the back of her dress, was 25 feet long. The future princess walked into the church on the arm of her proud father, Earl John Spencer. 3,500 guests stood and watched the real-life Cinderella walk down the long aisle on a red carpet. Charles's mother, Elizabeth II, the Queen of England, and his father, Prince Philip, looked on proudly. Standing at the front of the church was Prince Charles. He wore his dark blue naval commander's uniform, and his wavy hair was perfectly combed. The handsome prince could have married anybody, and he had chosen Diana. I couldn't take my eyes off of him, Diana later said. I just absolutely thought I was the luckiest girl in the world. The wedding was ready to begin. The Archbishop of Canterbury, who presided over the ceremony, described the day as the stuff of which fairy tales are made. Most fairy tales end happily ever after, but real life, even the real life of a princess, is often more complicated. In the years after her marriage, Diana sometimes felt lonely and sad. Her life was not always as happy as the storybook one that she had imagined. But on the day of her wedding, when the whole world was watching, Diana was a happy bride. She couldn't wait to marry her Prince Charming. Princess Diana was born Diana Frances Spencer on July 1st of 1961. The Spencers had been a rich and powerful family for centuries. They were part of the British nobility or the wealthy ruling class. Diana had been born in Park House, a beautiful and large home on the Queen's estate at Sandringham, England. In the 1930s, Diana's grandparents were invited to live in the house by King George VI. Park House was then passed on to Diana's mother when she had a family of her own. Diana's father, John Spencer, held the title Viscount Althorp, or they say Viscount Althorp. Okay. He had been an officer in the British Army and had fought for England during World War II. The Spencer tree. The Spencer family tree. I'll let you see it. You can read it. Pause and read it. Diana's mother was Frances Spencer, Viscountess. I'm saying Althorp, but I think I'm saying it wrong. Please forgive me. Diana already had two older sisters, Sarah, who was 6 years old, and Jane, who was 4. Because they were such close friends of the royal family, people often said that each of the three Spencer girls might someday marry one of Queen Elizabeth II's three sons, Prince Charles, Prince Andrew, and Prince Edward. When Diana was born, the Spencers had been hoping for a son to carry on the family's name and inherit their fortune. In fact, the Spencers had not even picked out a girl's name. They decided on Diana a week after their third daughter was born. As a young child, Diana often played alone. Her two older sisters were away at boarding school. Their growing up was done out of my sight, Diana later said. Diana's parents eventually had the son they always wanted. Charles Spencer was born in 1964 when Diana was almost 3 years old. Charles became Diana's best friend. The youngest Spencer children had fun exploring all of Park House. Their huge 10-bedroom mansion had long staircases with railings the children could slide down. Look at them sliding down the railing. Diana was an athletic child. She enjoyed riding her bike, swimming in their pool, and climbing trees. She also liked playing with stuffed animals and kept many on her bed. She loved her real animals too. Diana had pet hamsters, guinea pigs, and a cat named Marmalade, or Marmalade. Marmalade. Like many wealthy children, Diana and her brother had nannies. Diana, though, longed to be cared for by her mother. Wow. She and Charles tried to get a few of the nannies to quit and even threw their clothes out the window. What? But they quickly learned that a new nanny could always be hired to replace the old one. Aside from those few stunts with her brother, Diana was kind to the nannies. She would help them clean the playroom and do other housework from an early age. Diana's father taught her to treat everybody as an individual and never throw your weight around. This meant Diana should treat everyone with kindness and never act more important than another person. Diana followed this rule her whole life, dreaming of love. For most of Diana's childhood, her mother and father did not get along. Diana's father was content to spend quiet days on the estate, reading and hunting. Diana's mother was bored by the slow pace of country life. She wanted to travel and have a life filled with adventure. So in 1967, when Diana was 6, her parents separated. Frances moved to London and John remained at the Park House. Her sisters, Sarah and Jane, were still away at boarding school. In 1969, the Spencers got a divorce. Diana's father had custody of the children. Diana now lived with him during the week and in London with their mother on the weekends. Diana attended Sillfield School near Park House, but there were times when she had trouble concentrating. Her parents' divorce had upset Diana very much. Most of the other students had parents who were still married, and Diana did not like being different. She was only 8 years old and wanted her mother and father to stay together. When Diana was 9, she was sent to Riddlesworth Hall, an all-girls boarding school. She lived in a dormitory and only came home for holidays and occasional weekends. Diana danced and played the piano. She also enjoyed sports and was especially good at diving, but Diana's grades weren't very good. Instead, she was at her best when she was looking after others. She worked hard at being kind. In 1973, Diana changed schools to attend West Heath, the small private boarding school her sisters had attended. She continued to excel at swimming, but what she was really good at was looking after others. Every week, Diana and a friend visited an old woman who lived near the school. They cleaned her house, they did errands for her, and they spent time talking to her. Along with other West Heath students, Diana also visited a hospital for the mentally and physically handicapped once a week. Many of the patients were in wheelchairs. Some people are unsure how to act around people who are sick, but Diana easily spoke to each one. Her gentle manner made people smile. Wow, even though Diana was a wealthy girl attending a private school, she never considered sick people or anyone else less than her equal. Even as a teenager, she was known for her caring nature. In her free time, Diana loved to read romance novels about young men and women falling in love and living happily ever after. She dreamed of one day falling in love. She had a poster of Prince Charles on her bedroom wall. Other girls in the school had posters of Prince Charles too. The dashing prince was a handsome celebrity. He would be the king of England someday. Even though Diana herself was a member of the nobility, she idolized Prince Charles as if he was a movie star. Yeah, as if he were a movie star. So in 1975, when Diana was almost 14, her grandfather, who was the 7th Earl Spencer, died. Diana's father became the 8th Earl Spencer. He and the children moved to Althorpe, the family's enormous mansion and estate in Northamptonshire, England. After her grandfather's death, Diana and her sisters each inherited the title of Lady. Her brother Charles, at age 11, became the new Viscount Althorpe, the 9th Earl Spencer. Diana was excited to become Lady Diana. She was less happy to leave her childhood home. But young Lady Diana Spencer was now growing into the noble role she was born to live out. This is the Althorpe house. School and beyond. In spring of 77, when Diana was 15, she finished her last semester of boarding school, which was similar to graduating from high school. She had to take her final exams in math, science, and history. We all know about these finals, right? If she did well on these tests, Diana could go on to college. She'd go on to college. Even though Diana had been given an award for her volunteer work while at school, she failed her exams twice. But Diana was not upset. She felt that college was not the right place for her. She had even joked with her brother about how poorly she sometimes did at school. But Diana was just being humble. She was smart in many other ways, even if she didn't have the best grades. Instead of continuing on to college, Diana went on to a finishing school in Switzerland. Diana didn't enjoy finishing school. She didn't like to cook or make dresses, and she was expected to speak French all the time. After only a few months, Diana begged her father and mother to let her come home. Finally, they both agreed. Diana left her school in Switzerland and moved back to England. Finishing schools. Finishing schools, also called charm schools in the United States, they taught wealthy young women how to be proper ladies. What did this include? These students learned how to cook, sew, set a table, and host an elegant party. The real goal of the finishing school was to prepare young women to marry rich and important men. Guess to take care of them, huh? Their formal education was now finished, and they were then expected to learn the correct manners and social skills to become upper-class wives. But many women didn't just want to marry wealthy men. They wanted the same opportunities as them. Today, many finishing schools have converted into top academic boarding schools. When she was 18, she moved into an apartment with friends in one of the nicest neighborhoods in London. Because her family was so wealthy, Diana didn't need to work, but she wanted to keep busy. She took a job as an assistant kindergarten teacher at a private school. Although Diana had never taught before, her kind and caring nature made her the perfect teacher. She loved working with children, just like me, loved working with children. She was quite happy to sit on the floor, have children climbing all over her, sit in low chairs beside them, and actually talk to them. The owner of the school later said that about Diana. While working as a teacher, Diana also worked part-time as a nanny for an all-American family who lived in London. At first, the family didn't even know she was part of the British nobility. They just knew Diana did a great job taking care of their 1-year-old baby boy. Diana spent her nights and weekends going to parties with friends. She attended social and charity balls. Her oldest sister, Jane, was now married to Robert Fellows, the Queen's assistant private secretary. This meant that the Spencers were even closer to the royal family than before. The parties Diana attended were given by some of the wealthiest and most influential people in the country. On weekends, she traveled back to Althorp to visit her father, who had remarried. Diana's mother still lived in London. Diana, always a pretty girl, was turning, yes, these are the pictures. She was turning into a beautiful young woman. People felt comfortable around Diana because of her kind and easygoing manner. She could just sit down and make you laugh, one friend said. Diana was young, carefree, and surrounded by people she admired greatly. She was enjoying one of the happiest times of her life. Now we're on the Charles chapter. In July of 1980, when Diana was 19, she was invited to spend a weekend at a friend's home in the country. During the weekend, Diana and her friends went to see Prince Charles play polo at a nearby park. Polo. Let me explain what polo is. Polo is most likely the oldest known team sport. It is played all over the world, but it is most popular in Great Britain. Polo is played on horseback, 4 against 4. Each player uses a long mallet to try to drive a ball across a 300-yard field into the opponent's goal. The winning team is the one that has scored the most goals. Because each polo match lasts around 2 hours, the horses get tired quickly. Each player rides 2 to 3 polo ponies per game. Wow, I didn't even know that. I didn't know that about polo. I didn't know. Wow. So Prince Charles, whose official title is His Royal Highness Prince Charles Philip Arthur George, Prince of Wales. Wow. I'm going to read that again. His title is His Royal Highness Prince Charles Philip Arthur George, Prince of Wales. He was the world's most eligible bachelor. Women everywhere wanted to marry him. Photographs and stories about the dashing 31-year-old prince appeared in newspapers, magazines, and on television news shows daily. He was nicknamed Action Man because he was athletic and he had served in the Royal Navy for 5 years. It seemed like the prince was always photographed doing something brave, piloting a plane or parachuting out of one. The newspapers also reported details about whom the prince was dating. Wow. And he seemed to date a lot of different women. Everybody wanted to know who the wife of the future king would be. After the polo match, Diana, Charles, and other friends gathered for a barbecue. While sitting together on a bale of hay, Charles and Diana began talking. Diana told Charles how sorry she was about his great-uncle, who had recently died. Charles had been very close to his great-uncle. He was touched that Diana was concerned about his feelings. Wow. Wow. So the two of them talked late into the evening, and Charles asked Diana to go on a date the following week. Then more dates followed. He invited her to a party on the royal yacht, Britannia, and soon after he invited her to visit one of the royal castles for the weekend. Diana stayed with her sister and brother-in-law, Jane and Robert, who had a cottage on the Balmoral castle grounds. During the weekend, Charles called Diana many times. Charles used to ring me up, call on the phone, and say, "Would you like to come for a walk? Come for a barbecue?" So I said, "Yes, please." I thought all this was wonderful, Diana later said. the royal residences. The British royal family calls many different places home. There are 4 crown estates and 4 private royal residences. The crown estates are owned by the British government. They're Buckingham Palace in London, Windsor Castle in the British countryside, Palace of Holyrood House in Edinburgh, Scotland, and Hillsborough Castle in Northern Ireland. Buckingham Palace is the most famous of these residences. It has been the royal family's London home since 1837. More than 15 million tourists a year visit the grounds of Buckingham Palace. The 4 private royal residences which are owned by the Queen are Sandringham House in Norfolk, England, where the royal family stays during the Christmas season, and Balmoral Castle, Craiggowan Lodge, and Delnadampf Lodge, all located in Aberdeenshire, Scotland, where the royal family stays during the summer months. Please forgive me for the mispronunciation. Please forgive me. News reporters who followed Charles' every move soon noticed Diana. Because she was dating Charles, Diana became front page news too. In early September, the British newspaper, The Sun, ran this headline in all capital letters above a story about Charles. "In love again, Lady Di is the new girl for Charles." They published that in the newspapers. Seemingly overnight, Diana became world famous. If the prince had chosen to date her, everyone thought that Diana must be very special. People wanted to know all about this beautiful kindergarten teacher. When Diana returned to London, photographers took pictures of her everywhere she went. She couldn't get away from them. The press were being unbearable, following my every move, said Diana. They had binoculars on me the whole time. Wow. Even with all the unwanted attention, Diana was falling in love. She was the girlfriend of the future King of Great Britain, the same man she had once hung a poster of on her wall. After dating for over 6 months, Diana hoped Charles would propose to her. So on February 6, 1981, Charles invited Diana for a candlelit dinner at Windsor Castle, one of the royal homes. Charles, who had been away on a skiing vacation, told Diana how much he had missed her. Then he asked her to marry him. Wow. Diana accepted gleefully by answering, "Yes, please." The wedding. Diana and Charles announced their future wedding plans to the world on February 24th in the garden of Buckingham Palace, the 600-room London home of the royal family. Both Charles and Diana seemed nervous as reporters asked them questions about their engagement. Diana showed off her ring, a sapphire stone surrounded with diamonds. One reporter asked the couple if they were in love, and Diana answered with a shy smile, "Of course." Charles wasn't used to expressing his emotions so publicly. "This question seemed to make him feel silly and uncomfortable," Charles responded. "Whatever in love means." Some people thought Charles's answer was odd. They wondered whether the prince was really in love with Diana. Despite the awkward announcement, Diana moved into her own private rooms in Buckingham Palace 2 days later. Queen Elizabeth II was thrilled that Diana was going to become her daughter-in-law. She had thought it was time for Prince Charles to marry, and she was happy about his choice of a young, sweet girl from an important family. The Queen had even written a letter to a friend describing Diana as one of us. One of us. With the help of royal officials and the support of the Queen, Diana immediately began planning for the wedding. Diana was also busy decorating the country house where she and Charles would live as a married couple. Prince Charles soon left on an official 5-week visit to Australia and New Zealand. Without Charles, Diana felt lonely. She also missed the friends she had lived with back in her London apartment. I missed my girl so much, Diana said. I wanted to go back there and sit and giggle like we used to and borrow clothes and chat about silly things. Even though planning the wedding had been stressful, Diana was overcome with happiness the night before the big day. She jumped on the bicycle of one of the royal servants and biked around in circles singing, "I'm going to marry the Prince of Wales tomorrow." The wedding day, July 29, 1981, was declared a national holiday in Great Britain. Thousands of people lined the streets of London to see Diana riding in the glass carriage to marry the prince at St. Paul's Cathedral. 750 million people all over the world watched the wedding on television. Her wedding dress, Diana's wedding dress. It was one of the most famous dresses in the world. Designed by David and Elizabeth Emanuel, it was made from 75 feet of ivory silk taffeta and had 10,000 pearls and sequins sewn on it. The dress had it had a 25-foot train, which is the back of the dress, the part that just trails behind the bride. It's the part of the gown that trails behind the dress. It was the longest train in royal wedding history. The lace used to trim the dress was nearly 500 years old. It had belonged to Mary I, the Queen of England in the 1550s. Wow. A diamond-studded horseshoe was sewn into the waist of the dress for good luck. A diamond-studded horseshoe. Wow. Wow. When the wedding began, Diana walked down the long aisle of the church holding her father's arm. When she reached her real-life prince, Charles whispered to Diana, "You look beautiful." During the ceremony, the bride and groom were nervous. The whole world was watching them. But once the vows were finished, they both smiled broadly and walked back down the aisle, arm in arm. After the ceremony, the newly married couple stood on a balcony of Buckingham Palace and waved to thousands of people lining the street. The people below waved British flags and shouted, "I love you." Diana and Charles kissed each other and then went into the palace for a wedding celebration along with 120 special guests. 27 different wedding cakes were served. 27 different wedding cakes. Wow. Wow. It says, including the official cake that stood 5 feet high. They had a 5-foot cake. Wow. The couple spent part of their honeymoon cruising along the coast of North Africa on the royal yacht Britannia. It was hardly a typical honeymoon. The future king and his royal highness traveled with a crew of 200. Wow. They continued their honeymoon back at Balmoral Castle in Scotland. They had dinner with the Queen and her husband, Prince Philip, almost every night. "There was never any time on our own," Diana said later. "I found that very difficult to accept." The new Princess of Wales, as she would now be known, realized she had much to learn and many adjustments to make as a member of the royal family. The little princess. As the wife of the future King of England, Diana was internationally famous. She could no longer go out in public by herself. Crowds of people handed her bouquet after bouquet of flowers. Photographers tried to take pictures of her to sell to magazines and newspapers. She suddenly had one of the most recognizable faces in the world. The attention overwhelmed Diana. It made her nervous and uncomfortable. One minute I was nobody, and then the next minute I was Princess of Wales. It was too much for one person at that time, Diana later said. Often Diana kept her head low and her shoulders hunched when she was in public. A newspaper writer called her Shy Di, and the nickname stuck. The wife of the future king was still only 20 years old. Charles had been a prince his entire life. He was used to being treated like a celebrity, but even he was surprised at how popular his wife had become. Yes, Diana was a princess, but she was also an especially beloved princess. She had a warm and enduring personality that people adored. When she greeted crowds, let me show you this picture. Yes. When she greeted crowds, yes, let me go back. She would look people in the eyes, shake their hands, and smile warmly. Once a blind man told Diana he wished he could see her. Without hesitating, she took his hand and placed it against her face so he can feel what she looked like. She hugged children who were in wheelchairs and people who were sick. Before Diana married Charles, this was not how other royals behaved. The family was reserved. It did things in a calm and formal manner. The royal family kept their distance and politely waved to the crowds that greeted them. Diana was expected to act that way too. But instead, she showed them a much kinder way to greet the public. At times, Charles joked that although he was the future king, people seemed more fascinated by his new bride. "I know my place now," Charles said. "I'm nothing more than a carrier of flowers for my wife." In October of 1981, Diana learned that she was going to have a baby. She and Charles were both thrilled. Being pregnant made Diana feel very tired much of the time, but she still had to attend official dinners and fancy royal events. She sometimes left early or even fell asleep. However, seeing the princess appear to be very unlike the rest of the royal family made people like her even more. On June 21st, 1982, Diana had a baby boy, Prince William Arthur Philip Louis. Prince William is the heir to the heir of the throne. Baby. It gives you the order of succession, and you can pause it and read it on your own. The Queen was thrilled. For the next 2 months, Charles and Diana were hardly ever seen in public. They spent their time at home caring for their new baby. From the time William was born, Diana wanted to be a more attentive parent than her mother had been. Diana knew she would have royal nannies and as much help as she needed. But she wanted to be the most important person in her son's life. Diana spent a lot of time with William, hugging him close and giving him kisses. When she and Charles went on official trips, she took the baby with her. That's what I would have done. This was something new. In the past, royal babies had stayed home and were cared for by their nannies. Just a little more than a year after William was born, Diana became pregnant again. Prince Henry Charles Albert David, known as Harry, was born on September 15, 1984. Like anyone who married in the royal family, Diana had to adapt to the royal way of life. But she was not willing to compromise the amount of love and affection she showered on her 2 boys. Princess with a purpose. She was a princess with a purpose. Diana and Charles both loved their sons, but they were having trouble loving each other. Oh. They were very different people. Charles enjoyed reading, fox hunting, and playing polo. Diana didn't share those interests. She enjoyed going to fashion shows, listening to music, spending time with close friends and family. Sometimes Diana felt lonely, even around Charles and the rest of his family. Diana's grandmother, Ruth, who was the Queen's good friend, told Diana, "Darling, you must understand that their sense of humor and their lifestyle are different, and I don't think it will suit you." Diana was also 13 years younger than Charles. She wanted to have fun. She wore glamorous designer clothes. She cut her hair short to look more stylish. Journalists took notice and reported on her every move. She couldn't go anywhere in public without being photographed. In an American poll in the mid-1980s, she was voted the most popular woman in the world. Diana became friends with celebrities, including singers Michael Jackson and Elton John, and many actors and actresses. When Charles and Diana were invited to the White House by President and Mrs. Reagan in 1985, Diana danced with actor John Travolta. Wow. She danced with John Travolta. Photographs and videos of the princess's White House dance became instantly popular around the world. And the dark blue velvet dress she wore that evening became known as the Travolta dress. By this time, Diana had become close with many famous fashion designers, such as Gianni Versace. Gianni loved to create dresses for Diana. He knew that if Diana wore his designs, his name would be recognized everywhere. As with the Travolta dress, Diana's clothes and her friends in the world of fashion could become very famous quickly. This is Gianni Versace. This is her dancing with John Travolta. And this is Versace. Diana had new clothes designed for just about every event she attended. Her fans and friends gushed over her stunning outfits and how beautiful she looked wearing them. With the help of her designers, Diana became one of the most fascinating and attractive women alive. While Charles attended to his royal duties, Diana spent as much time as she could with William and Harry. When they went on fun trips to places like amusement parks, Diana and the boys waited in line for the rides just like everybody else. She took her sons out for hamburgers and let them wear casual clothes, like jeans and baseball caps. Diana insisted her boys be raised as close to normal as possible. She wanted her sons to experience and understand life not just as members of the wealthy royal family, but as caring, compassionate people. As an example to her sons, Diana began to spend more time working for charitable causes. For the time she was a schoolgirl, Diana had enjoyed helping the elderly, the sick, and the poor. She worked very hard at it too. Diana traveled all over the world, to Germany, to Africa, and to Japan, to urge people to donate money and time to charities that needed it the most. When Diana was shown in photographs smiling and spending time with hospital patients and people who were suffering, it made others want to help too. One magazine article about Diana called her a princess with a purpose. In the 1980s, AIDS was an international health crisis. Many people were afraid to touch AIDS patients or even be near them because they believed they could catch the disease that way. And you can't catch AIDS that way. AIDS. AIDS stands for Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome. The cause of this disease is the HIV virus. In the 1980s, it was very common for people with AIDS to die from the disease. Doctors did not understand how to prevent it or treat it. While scientists continue to work to find a cure, there are now medications to help patients with HIV and AIDS treat and manage their symptoms. In 1987, Diana helped open the first section of a British hospital that was devoted to treating AIDS patients. Wow. When she visited the hospital, Diana comforted the patients. At the time, this astonished the public. Diana explained, "You can shake their hands and give them a hug. Heaven knows they need it." Wow. Diana and Charles were now barely spending any time together. Wow. Charles went to business meetings and made official visits around the world. Diana continued to visit patients in hospitals and raise money for the charities that concerned her the most. They had only been married for 6 short years, but when the royal couple was together, They often looked miserable. Newspaper reporters took notice and began spreading all sorts of rumors about Diana and Charles. The fairy tale marriage seemed to be coming apart. Wow. Chapter 8, On Her Own. In February 1992, Diana and Charles traveled together on a visit to India. Charles went about his official business and Diana visited the country's poor. She also had the chance to meet one of her heroes, Mother Teresa, who ran a home for the sick and dying. One by one, Diana visited all 50 of Mother Teresa's patients who were close to death. So Mother Teresa was born Agnes Gangsa Bojaksu, I'm sorry for pronouncing it incorrectly, in what is now the European country of Macedonia. In 1928, she became a Roman Catholic nun, and soon after she moved to India. She devoted her entire life to helping the poor in Calcutta. Mother Teresa founded a religious order for women called the Missionaries of Charity. She received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979 for her work with the blind, sick, disabled, and dying. Mother Teresa was declared a saint on September 4th, 2016. We shall never know all the good that a simple smile can do, she famously said. Today, the Order of the Missionaries of Charity continues to help people in more than 90 countries around the world. Mother Teresa. In March of 1992, Diana's father died. He died in London. Both Charles and Diana attended John Spencer's funeral, but reporters noticed that they arrived and left separately. By December, they had officially separated. Diana moved into Kensington Palace in London, while Charles continued to live in their home at Highgrove. This is Kensington Palace right here. When 10-year-old Prince William was told the news about his parents' separation, he responded to his mother, "I hope you will both be happier now." Wow. Both William and Harry lived away at boarding schools. When they came home on the weekends, they took turns staying with either their mother or their father. So during the school year, Diana only saw her boys every other weekend. She missed them terribly. Diana remembered how difficult it was for her when her own parents had separated. She tried to show William and Harry more love than ever. "I hug my children to death," Diana said at that time. Diana was traveling around the world more, visiting homeless shelters and children's hospitals. Because reporters still followed her every move, Diana's visit helped attract attention to places and causes that needed help and money. In November of 1994, she attended a reception for the 125th anniversary of the British Red Cross. By showing her support, she helped raise millions for the organization. In June 1995, Diana visited Moscow, Russia. She presented a children's hospital with new medical equipment and also visited an elementary school. When it was Diana's turn to have the boys, she often took them on these trips with her. She wanted William and Harry to see the world and grow into caring and kind people too. "I want them to have an understanding of people's emotions, of people's insecurities, people's distress, of their hopes and dreams," she explained. On August 28, 1996, Diana and Charles finally divorced. Although they had been living separately for years, the divorce made everything official. It was very big news. Nobody wanted the fairy tale marriage to end. Charles and Diana were supposed to live happily ever after. The couple agreed to share equal time with their boys. Diana was allowed to keep her home at Kensington Palace, but she would no longer be called Her Royal Highness. Her title remained Princess of Wales. After the divorce, Diana began to blossom. William's hope for his mother seemed to come true. She did seem happier following her own set of rules, and Diana was as popular as ever. People were especially curious about who she might begin dating after her marriage to Prince Charles had ended. Photographers still hounded her everywhere she went. "I would come back to my car and find 6 freelance photographers jumping around me," Diana once explained in an interview. Magazines and newspapers could sell millions of copies if they included just one photograph of Diana on a date or in a private moment with a friend. This made life for Diana it was a daily challenge for her. She handled the constant pressure with the grace of a princess. She always seemed to smile brightly as cameras flashed and curious reporters surrounded her. Wow. Chapter 9 says, Farewell, Diana. Wow. Even though she would have preferred to keep her personal life private, Diana welcomed attention at her favorite causes. She used her celebrity status to help people in need. In late 1996, Diana turned her attention to helping victims who had been injured from hidden explosive landmines. Landmines are small bombs that have been buried in battlefield during wartime to prevent the enemy from advancing. After a war ends, landmines are often forgotten, and they can harm innocent people who step on the unmarked explosives. So working with the Red Cross in January 1997, Diana visited the African country of Angola. A civil war had been going on in Angola for 20 years, and 15 million mines, forgotten weapons, were scattered across the country. Close to 50,000 people, wow, including children, had lost an arm or a leg in landmine accidents. When Diana visited Angola, her goal was to achieve a worldwide ban on landmines. Wow. I learned something new. She wanted to be sure that these small yet deadly weapons could never be used again. Just as she had done with AIDS patients years before, Diana talked to and comforted the landmine victims, many of whom had been injured simply by walking in the countryside. She soon made sure the world cared about this issue too. In June of 1997, Diana used her own clothing to raise money. At Christie's, an auction house in New York City, 79 of Diana's most beautiful gowns and dresses were each sold to the highest bidder. Wow. Wow. The Travolta dress alone was purchased for $222,000, $222,500. Oh my goodness. $222,000 with 500. Wait, let me say it right. $222,500. There we go. $222,500. It was the most expensive piece of clothing Christie's had ever sold. In total, the dresses earned $3.25 million. The money was used to help cancer and AIDS patients. But the world was interested in more than just Diana's charitable work. Less than a year after her divorce, she began dating Dodi Fayed. He was a billionaire whose family owned Harrods, the famous British department store. Some people did not think Dodi was the right choice for Diana. He liked to spend his money on fancy cars, big boats. Let me show you. Fancy cars, big boats, and expensive parties. But Diana liked him. She even introduced him to her sons, William, now 15, and Harry, aged 12. But in the summer of 1997, they took the boys on a vacation to the south of France. On August 30, Diana and Dodi visited Paris. They went out to dinner at the Ritz Hotel in the heart of the city. After finishing their meal, Diana and Dodi tried to sneak out the back door of the hotel. They wanted to avoid the photographers called paparazzi, waiting to take pictures of them. Paparazzi. Let me read you what that means. Paparazzi is an Italian word that refers to photographers or picture takers who take pictures of celebrities. While they often try to get their photos in public places, the paparazzi are also known to track famous people while they are simply going about their daily lives, having dinner, relaxing on a vacation, or even shopping for groceries. Some paparazzi intentionally try to make a famous person angry in order to get a more valuable picture or photo. The paparazzi are often accused of invading the personal space and the privacy of their subjects. Paparazzi. So, Diana and Dodi hopped into a black car and their driver sped away. The paparazzi began chasing them in their cars, motorcycles, and scooters, desperate to get a picture, a photograph. A picture of the couple could be sold for thousands of dollars. Dodi's driver sped up to try to get away from the cameraman. The driver was going too fast and lost control. The car crashed into a concrete pillar inside a Paris tunnel. Dodi and the driver died instantly in the accident. Diana was taken to the hospital and she died shortly after. Princess Diana was only 36 years old. Wow. Chapter 10, Sadness and Grief. The world was devastated by Diana's death. In her honor, mourners left 20 million pounds, 10,000 tons, of flowers in front of Buckingham Palace. Diana's family and friends blamed her death on the photographers who had been following Diana that night. Wow. Her brother Charles thought that the magazines and newspapers that bought the photographs were also to blame because they encouraged the paparazzi to be so aggressive. The royal family mourned quietly and privately over the loss of Diana. On the night before her funeral, the Queen spoke lovingly of her former daughter-in-law. So what I say to you now as your queen and as a grandmother, I say from my heart, she began. Diana was an exceptional and gifted human being. In good times and bad, she never lost her capacity to smile and laugh, nor to inspire others with her warmth and kindness. Diana's funeral was held on September 6, 1997. Her coffin was driven through the streets of London on a horse-drawn carriage. In addition to Diana's family, there were also 500 more people walking behind her coffin. Wow. These people who had suffered from illnesses such as AIDS and cancer were the ones who had been helped the most by the charities Diana supported during her lifetime. The carriage route was made even longer so that all the people who lined the streets could see it pass. More than 2.5 billion people watched the service on television, making it one of the most watched events in history. Diana's brother, Charles, began his speech at the funeral with these words. I stand before you today, the representative of a family in grief, in a country in mourning before a world in shock. Sir Elton John, Diana's good friend, sang his song Candle in the Wind, with special lyrics written just for Diana. In one verse he sang, You called out to our country, and you whispered to those in pain. Now you belong to heaven, and the stars spell out your name. Wow. Elton John. Yes, he's still alive. Some of the most famous people in the world attended Diana's funeral, including then First Lady Hillary Clinton, director Steven Spielberg, movie stars Tom Cruise and Tom Hanks, and designer Donatella Versace. After a private ceremony at her family home, Diana was buried on an island in a lake on Althorp's estate. A path leading up to her gravesite is lined with 36 oak trees, one to mark each year of her life. Her royal legacy. Today, Diana's spirit and legacy live on, especially in her children. Her oldest son, William, is married to Catherine Elizabeth Kate Middleton, who is called the Duchess of Cambridge. In 2013, the couple welcomed their first child, named George. By 2018, William and Kate had 2 more children, daughter Charlotte and their second son, named Louis. Kate didn't have a royal or even noble childhood, but her kind and gentle personality reminds many people of Diana. William has said that not a day goes by that he doesn't think about his mother. Prince Harry was in the military for 10 years, serving in the Army Air Corps. In 2014, he founded the Invictus Games, an international multi-sport event for wounded veterans. I believe I've got a lot of my mother in me, Harry said, referring to her history of charitable work. He has said, I want to try to carry it on to make her proud. Harry married Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle, an American-born actress, in 2018. Their son Archie was born in 2019. Diana's life didn't turn out to have the fairy tale ending she had once hoped for, but she became the people's princess for all the kind and generous things that she accomplished. Diana had a special way of wanting to help anyone who might need her attention. It made people want to know her, to be around her, and sometimes just to see her. She was considered to be as beautiful on the inside as she was on the outside. She became an international celebrity and one of the world's most admired women. In Diana's short life, she made the world a better place. She made people understand that acts of simple kindness are what matters the most. I knew what my job was, Diana once said. It was to go out and meet the people and love them. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The end. I will show you this. Timelines. You can pause it and take a look at her timeline of Princess Diana's life and timeline of the world. Wow. The end. The end. The end. Wow. Wow. Princess Diana, you guys. Wow. Who was Princess Diana? That is who Princess Diana was. Thank you so much for being here with me here at Audrey's Reading Area and listening to me read this book, Who Was Princess Diana. Now you know. Thank you again. And please don't forget to subscribe to Audrey's Reading Area. Don't forget to share my videos with everybody. Don't forget to check out all the videos and watch them and listen. Listen to me read to you, because I try to make it fun and exciting for you and grab your attention and educate you and make you happy. Thanks again, and I will see you soon.